Okay, so I recently just got a little different insight into the prodigal son in Luke. The prodigal son is in Luke chapter 15, and this is the story about there's two sons, an older son and a younger son. Well, the younger one asks his dad, says, I want my share of the inheritance now. And so, not before, not when the dad dies, but now. I want it now. And so the dad obliges and gives him his inheritance. The younger son takes his inheritance and leaves out of there. And he goes and he wastes it all on extravagant living. Like, he just blows it on all this stuff that is not fulfilling. And he ends up broke with no inheritance, with no food, with no place to live. He ends up in the pig pen, feeding the pig slop and wishing that they would give him some of the pig slop. So then he realizes, he says, okay, I've screwed up. My dad's servants live better than this. Maybe if I just go back home and I beg for forgiveness and I ask to be a servant, my dad will let me be a servant in his house. So he goes back, but instead of just letting him be a servant, the dad sees him far away and meets him out there and is exuberant and welcomes him with open arms and says, no, you're not a servant. You're my son. I love you. He forgave him. He loves him. He threw a big party, big celebration, like the biggest celebration they'd ever thrown. Gives him the family ring and everything. So then the older son sees this and he's like, what's up with that? Like, I've served you all my life and I didn't take your inheritance and run off, and you're not throwing me a party. Why are you throwing my brother a party? That's not fair, you know? And I always understood his perspective. Like, I understand where you're coming from when, you know, you've served him all your life and it seems like he's getting off scotch free. But then I read it again the other day and I got just a different spin on it. It says, then his father said, son, you are always with me and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found. So it says, son, you are always with me and everything I have is yours. So previously I thought, okay, everything I have is yours. That means because you live with me, you know, you have access to everything and you've always had access to everything. But then I thought about it again and it's everything I have is yours. Well, the younger son already got his share of the inheritance. So literally everything the father has, everything that he's made since that son left, everything that he will make until he dies is now going to be the older son's. So he is going to get the entire inheritance. Everything that's earned back, everything is his. So the father welcomed the younger son back with open arms and loved him, but it didn't go without consequence because he's already got his inheritance and he's already wasted it. But the younger son, I mean the older son, he now everything, literally everything is his. Everything is his. So, you know, I think about people that say, well, I'll come to God later in life. Like, why would I serve God now when I could just live however I wanted to, and then when I'm 85 and on my deathbed, then I can ask God into my life and I can still get into heaven. Well, God will always welcome you with open arms. That is true. God will never turn his back on you if you run toward him. Just like in the prodigal son, he welcomed him with open arms. But he already wasted his inheritance. Man, I want that full inheritance.